welcome, welcome. A Sabbath after show, after dark. Yeah, it's after dark. So we're just gonna wait until our sister joins, but we're gonna be building on the righteous family, the Redeemer and the Savior. Peace, Akoti. Peace. Yeah, we're about to just add more onto the build. We wanted to continue to discuss what we spoke about last time. We spoke about last Sabbath. So we're just kind of waiting for everyone to pour in. Waiting to everyone pour in. But yeah, this insight that Chief did was just too good not to continue to. Added you to the live, so hopefully you're able to jump in. I'm just gonna wait until more folks kind of jump in. Okay, yeah, I accepted the request, but I'm not sure what's going on there.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, well, we just want to continue building on the Redeemer and the Savior.
Yes.
Peace to the Omni Man.
Yeah. He was the first one to join. Wish we had a prize, a door prize.
Yeah, I would just I guess we could just jump right in, because before peace, Masterman, like peace. Before we got live, I just was thinking about the actual. I went back and listened to a little bit of the Sabbath insight that you did, and the part where you spoke about the smile popped back out. And I remember you touching on the smile last time. But I thought about how I don't know if you ever had this experience, but I remember walking down the street or going to the store or whatever, and you'll have men kind of say smile, you look down once you smile, and subconsciously I would say there was always something inside of me is you don't get that. I don't just go around smiling to anybody. So it's kind of no, I'm just supposed to smile for you. That always felt like something that you reserved for the person that you with. So I just wonder if that was because I wasn't walking around angry or anything like that. But when men would say smile, I would see smile, no, So I wonder if that was actually a subconscious way of intuitively knowing that's not something that you give to every. Yeah, that's something that you would give to your Redeemer.
I think, yes, I learned that lesson because it is a way of opening yourself up to others, especially not only just smiling, but when you're looking other men in the eyes. That was one of the very first lessons that I learned. But I didn't necessarily have that way of thinking, especially when I was younger, because I was always, pretty happy, and I remember sometimes people would ask, I'm from Savannah. They would say, are you from Savannah? And it's yeah. And they were well, I can't tell because you're always, you're happy. Most women or girls from Savannah are usually angry. And, I didn't really have anything to be angry about. But looking back now, it's kind of like, maybe being, smiling so much might have invited the wrong energy in. So maybe, that is preserved. Now I can say now, the smile that you're seeing is definitely because of Chief. So it is because of Chief. So you know what I mean? But
she's like, right now. Yeah.
No, that was a good observation.
Yeah, I think it's the difference between like someone saying smile, like wanting you to smile for them in particular, versus like smiling when you're happy about something. You're joyful when you're happy. You're a part of a homestead. You're a part of a house and it's like you're seeing the benefits and the joy of that, and it's a beautiful experience. And it's like you're gonna smile because you're happy and you're having those happy moments. So, but not smiling at a particular person. That's different.
Yeah,
different. But
definitely.
Yeah, peace, Zach, peace, Ja is Supreme, peace, Kel Fitness 01, and everyone else.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's a good point. I think, I know we can say we're definitely happy. Every time we're on the live, we're always smiling. So I think that's a testament to like just genuinely being happy because we have what you call a savior and a redeemer. And I mean, hey, get used to these smiles.
Right, and there's some like when I've heard women say like, "Oh, you're so giddy," like all kind of negative connotations when it comes to a woman truly being happy to have a man in her life. That's such a shame because it's like you'll never have a redeemer, you'll never have a savior in your life. And she did talk about like how someone like they don't want that because it does require like you to grow and for you to change. And
yeah, you do. Being open to receive that change that comes along with accepting your redeemer or your savior. And man, I mean, what else can you say? What else can you say?
Right. Like add anything additional in terms of like I know we asked the question last time, like who are you looking for in a wife, or what are you looking for in a wife? Like if you want to just add that in the chat just to share.
What are you looking for? I had another question for the brothers also, and we'll see what they what they have to say, but we could save that question for later. But
okay. I think we have someone. We have the Anu man. He wants to join. He wants to join the live. Okay. We'll accept. Peace, Brenda Lee.
Wow, these are all the people from over on my art channel. They're coming over.
Welcome.
David is actually a colleague. He was actually a professor of mine, and Brenda I met doing that live. So peace and welcome to the space. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel also.
Yes. Much appreciated. Yeah, we're just talking about what men and women look for in relationships when mating righteously. Peace, Anu. Peace. So
are we able to get Anu man in?
No, I wasn't able to get him in, but that's okay. That's okay. You can just share what you would like to share in the chat, and we'll read it. But
All right. What stood out? Because we always start there. What stood out to us, and we build on that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, was there anything that you wanted to add, like in addition to what was shared last time?
Yeah. One of the things that I wrote or took note of is in the very beginning when she said one person can't get warm all alone. And I thought that was significant because it combats the whole independent woman mindset and thinking that you can do everything by yourself. And, it's like, I thought about also Matthews 18 and 20. For some reason, that kind of popped up in my head when it talked about like just thinking you can do everything by yourself. And Matthews 18 and 20 says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in thy name, there am I in the midst of them." And so to me, that kind of solidified, like, you can't do anything in this life by yourself. And if men and women were made for each other, it's just kind of like if you're walking around thinking, oh, I can do everything by myself. I can accomplish everything by myself. I can raise a child by myself. I can, sustain myself by myself. It's like you're taking the creator out. One, you're taking the creator out. And then two, if we were made to be with men and you say, well, I can do it by myself, it's like you're really depriving yourself of a gift. You're depriving yourself of something that we were really actually created for. And I don't know about anybody else out there, but I do not want to deprive myself of something beautiful that the Most High has blessed us to have. And that is a man, a savior. So that's where my mind went.
Absolutely. Yeah, because he teaches that the family is the reflection of the Elohim. It's in the Anu way. And I just think about that, like family being the highest form of science, and that it's so deep. And I'm like, okay, well, no wonder why there's so many different tools to keep the original man and woman apart. It's absolutely crazy. But I just think about the love and the connection. And I was looking at my notes, kind of looking back when she talked about law, and law being that connection between the original man and the original woman, and that love. Like, whoa. I was like, wow, and then trying to put it together with the righteous family and she sharing the foundation of, I'm like, this is so beautiful. Like, if we could have like learned this, at a younger age and been able to follow this, like, I just think about the power and what that would have looked like. And there's a reason why it's like so many different tactics to keep the man and woman apart.
The original man and woman apart. Yeah.
Yes.
I think about. I think about. You said like I wish we had have known. I think we all are there. Because we know the story of our people. But I think that's the beautiful thing about someone like Chief Yuya. And he's always referring to his elders, who he sat at the feet of and learned. And for him to be active and really doing the work now to really raise the consciously dead, to really bring women into that space of redemption, like that's a powerful thing, and I think that goes hand in hand when you talk about a redeemer or a savior. He really is what he says he is. So
buying her back. It's like, nah, reclaim. You didn't like infiltrate her mind. Is all crazy, but no. I'm gonna bring her back over here, get the mind right, and but she has to be receptive. She has to like see the importance of having that redeemer, or she's just gonna stay lost. Like, there's no place to be.
No place. That's that wisdom. Like being receptive, that's that wisdom. In our 120 studies, we learn like 1 is the knowledge, that's the man, the son, the savior. 2 is the woman, that's wisdom. She is receptive to knowledge, or the son. And then that redemption, when you are able to born or bring forth understanding, that child, that's the powerful part. And it makes me think of 1 Timothy 2:15, where it talks about, nevertheless, she will be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith, love, and holiness with self-control. That's the powerful part. So you want to be redeemed, you got to be able to bring forth a child. And that's part of being receptive to the light of a man, being receptive to that knowledge. And that's real. That's real.
It is. So I'm going to read what P.P.I. said. He said, a woman who will heal, who will unalive, who speaks multiple languages, who is traveled, who has a spiritual world view, who uses her words wisely, who is free in her emotions, who is
capable. That's that Proverbs 31. And we're all striving for that. If you're in the house, we know what it is. We know. Like, that's what we're striving for.
Right. That's one of those required qualities in the Anu way for women who are looking to join Anu. That's one of the required qualities, being capable, you know. And I think an important part of being capable is like being willing, you know, being able to be worked with and being able to allow yourself to be molded.
Being capable. I think about something you shared the other day. We were talking, and you were saying like, sometimes even if it's hard, like if you're given something to do, and even if it's hard, you're still like, all right, I gotta do this. Whatever the task is given to us, it's like, that's so true. That's that capable part. You can just make it happen, you know, make it happen. And what I love about Chief and what he does is, I remember one time I think I called him and I was upset about something that had something to do with work. And I was like, I just can't get this. This is too much. I don't know how to, you know, I just feel like I can't master anything. And he said, you're not meant to master. You're not really, that's not what you're supposed to be as a woman. And that was something that was so like common. Like that's an example of your Savior stepping in and bringing that wisdom and calming you down and making you feel secure and letting you know, like, whatever standards the world has told you you had to live up to, I'm telling you, that's not what you're supposed to be. Now you do your best, you know what I mean? But I'm not expecting you to be a master at any of this. So I'll never forget that, because I was on the phone crying and just like, oh, I just can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. And he let me get it out, and then he just, you know, calmed me right on down. And then we got to a solution, and hey, I was good.
Yeah. I think that's I was going to say, I think that's the beautiful part of having a man in your life, like being able to have that guidance, that constant instruction, because I think about women who are lost and don't have that, like they're constantly stressed and trying to like, and they will say things like, oh, I had to be the man. It's like, no, you did not. You chose to be by yourself and to be alone. And it's like, we made a different choice, so we don't have to worry about those issues and those problems. But I just keep going back to like being receptive to the redeeming Savior, and also going back to when she spoke about like he has to want to like hold you, which is different than a hug, but he's not gonna want to hold you if you but he listed a lot of different things. It's like, yeah, like it was so many different things. It's kind of like, oh
it's true. I mean, I will say it's true. That's all I'll say. It's true, you know. And it makes a difference, I'll say, because it's like you say, you could hug, anybody could hug you. You go to church and get a church hug. That's, you know, hey, how you doing? Okay, yeah. But for somebody to hold you, there is a sense of like, you know, this is somebody I gotta take care of. I gotta look out for and make sure they're safe.
Right.
And that, I'm telling you, like that means a lot. That means a whole lot.
So, it does. And I look at that aspect as someone caring about me. I know she was speaking about like how a lot of women, they'll look at that as like, oh, you're trying to control me. But I look at it as like, no, somebody actually cares about me. And I wouldn't be where I was if somebody stepped in and was like, hey, you like, watch out for this, look out for that. And I know Chief often says like, okay, some women expect for him to come in and do what their father didn't do. But it's like, that's one of the reasons why we're very thankful when we're giving grace and we're kind of share like, hey, this is your issue, this is your problem, so this is where you need to go. It's like, okay, like you take it and you run with it and you're appreciative of it, you know, as opposed to saying like, oh no, like you don't love me, or you always criticizing me and all of this crazy stuff. It's like, no, someone is trying to save you and trying to help you, because this is why you're in the position you're in. Right. It's like, don't you want to be saved? Don't you want? So yeah, it may not. Of course, it may not be comfortable. May not be something that you expected, but of course, it's not going to be because you've been living the life that you've been living, not wanting to change. So it's going to be something that cause you to be uncomfortable and cause you to like, I got to change and transform.
Mm-hmm.
So I we're going to run from that, but I think the beauty of not running from it is to actually allow yourself to be redeemed and saved.
And maybe the running is just the fear of change itself, or the fear of just not wanting to let go. I think about, there's a song on that playlist that we have, the Consecration playlist, and I think it's Rising to the Top. And he says, like in the song, like in the beginning, he says, I know we're doing everything we want to do. Meanwhile, we're losing because we won't let go. And it's like part of that redemption and being saved is like you really do have to let go of your old way of thinking, your old way of being, your old life, and you're literally coming into a whole new experience. If your Savior is has, well, for Chief, he has a whole culture that he's living out, and he gave that to us, so it's like, yeah, you have to let go of whatever your past was or whatever your old way of thinking was. And it is hard, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it if you have a Savior or Redeemer. Now, if you have a simp, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, man.
Better come to our new and get with one of these brothers. If you know it's right. I'm just saying, if you got a simp,
she did share, like, okay, how a woman can spot, like, whether a man is coming to her life to be a redeemer or a savior. He said, like, if he doesn't care about how you feel, or, like, and I forget the other aspect was one more thing that he said, like, okay, if this man doesn't care about these two things, and it's kind of like, well, there's the answer.
Yeah, there you go. You don't care about how you feel. I don't know what else did he say. I got a lot of notes, but I mean, even if he's trying to, I think he used the term, Chief, I hope I could say this word on live, but it's the TRICK. If he's doing that, yeah, it's like he's trying to buy you, that's not the one either, sis. You might want to rethink that one, rethink it. Oh, yeah. I have another question. I don't see any brothers in the chat that answered your question, but I have a question for the brothers in our new. All right. So as we're talking about being, men being saviors and being redeemers, and we know the importance of Anu and redeeming our people, the question I have is for the brothers: how do you, or if you are, developing and cultivating the love of the Most High within yourself to be able to redeem our people, specifically women? So I hope that wasn't too much, but
basically, I have to repeat it one more time just in case someone needs it.
So I want to know, like, the brothers in Anu, how are you cultivating the love of the Most High within yourself to be able to redeem our people, and specifically the sisters in our community? So how are you doing that? Please share in the chat, and if we can try to get one of the brothers on, that would be really, really great. Or even if we could get Chief on, that would be great too.
I'll just share for the women that's listening. If you didn't catch the Sabbath Insight, some things that were mentioned in terms of like what men are looking for in women is that her being authentic, being herself, her being confident, her being passionate about life, having to be vulnerable and accepting of that man. So you can't be like wanting to change this man. You have to accept him for how he is. He's strong and he's like, this is what you're getting. So you can't try to be like trying to change him, because that's just not gonna work. So those are some of the things that were shared. And she's excited for those who kind of like missed it. So
Gabe, he was dropping gems. So This is, if y'all looking for a savior and looking for that man, you might want to take some notes. Take some notes.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Well, nobody answered the question. Y'all scared.
Question. Bring him on.
Okay.
Shalom.
Shalom. Peace.
Peace. Peace. So I'm going to answer the question. How does one redeem your buying back? Can y'all hear me clearly, or is it chopping in and out and stuff like that?
Can't hear you.
So I would say you redeem the woman of your nation through any way that you redeem something, through currency. So the currency that you're spending is righteousness and blamelessness, because what you're trying to regain and what you're trying to recover is the minds of your natural counterpart. You know, her body is like whatever, but what has been taken from her is her mind. So what you're looking to buy back is the mind, and the way you buy the mind is first. It's like the same. A person won't care what you know until they know that you care. So there has to be a relationship established first. You know, relationships are a form of currency too. And you build that level of trust and faith, which is another currency. Faith is another form of money. You build that through blamelessness and through righteousness. You see, so I would say that once you get into that place where it's like you recognize that this woman is your natural counterpart and she's been sold into mental slavery, you know, or she's been sold into spiritual insanity or spiritual debauchery, then you have to go to war in heaven. You know, that's what a war is. Sometimes you get stuck in a space where you feel like you have to have a certain amount of game. You got to have a certain amount of swag. And if you have that game and you have that swag, you'll be able to get this woman onto your team. But the reality is that the larger society and the larger socio-cultural space has taken her because of what they were able to put into her mind and the understanding that they had about her mind. So it's the knowledge that you bring, which becomes like your sword that you barge into heaven with. And when you come into heaven with your sword of understanding, then now you're now warring against all of those entities. It's like there's like neurodisruptors, because we have a natural inclination and tendency to be with one another. That's just nature. Like, you don't have to teach me how to be with you, really. It's natural. So if I need all of these different lessons, I need to hold your hand, I need to look in your eyes, you know, I need to listen to you when you speak, so forth and so on, is because I have a disruptor in my natural form and pathways of spiritual intellectual movement. So when I go to war in heavens, now I'm cutting away, like Ogun, I'm slicing and cutting away all of those neural disruptors that block the pathway between me and you. You know, and it only occurs in the heavens. But that means I have to be able to gain access to my heavens first. So once I get a certain level of mental mastery, when I get that level of mental mastery and I have righteous knowledge that I'm operating with and righteous understanding that I'm operating with, now I can turn to my rib, or I can turn to my woman and say, okay, I've gotten free. Now I'm going to free you. But the only way she's going to accept, the only way I can even get into her heavens is through blamelessness. See, the programming that she has already on her, she believes that system of programming is righteous within herself. So if somebody says, well, you know, you should go to school, get yourself a car, get yourself a job, so forth and so on. Don't worry about a man. You don't need that right now. Don't worry about no children. You don't want no children. She never goes to war against that idea because she believes those are perfect ideas. She believes that they are blameless within herself. So I have to show her a higher frequency and wavelength of righteousness and blamelessness to show her how dirty those thoughts and ideas are that would keep us divided. So the currency that I'm always going to gain, and the currency that I'm going to go after, is always going to be blamelessness. And I can only be blamelessness when I wash myself with the water of universal knowledge. You know, as I'm constantly scrubbing myself, she looks at me and she says, wow, he's really on point. Wow, he really is what he says he is. Wow, like his righteousness is on point. You know, his mathematics are on point. Whenever a situation is happening, he seems to always know the formula to apply to that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I can trust him now to allow him into my heavens and to start cleaning and fixing my heavens. You know, that's what I would say on that.
Drop the mic. Drop that.
Mm-hmm. Bakusha.
It's very easy to trust that. It's very easy to play. Like, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about anything. You can trust to give your everything to that man, and yeah. So
I think about the time where just learning that, coming in and learning that, being very like anxious, you know, the Chief knows, like I would be super anxious, and sometimes, you know, I would look to older relatives who were, you know, supposed to be, I guess, like the people that look out for you, and sometimes you come to them with a problem and you're like, oh, what do I do about this? And they be like, I don't know, you know, and that never, like, it never made you feel relaxed or feel like, oh, okay. And so when she said, like, yeah, like your math, it just always seemed to be on point. You always seem to have a solution for whatever you're going through. It's so true. It's so true. I remember
those relatives probably didn't have strong men. The only way you can feel the strength and the power of the projection of a woman is through the projection and the strength of a man. So just because you go to some old aunt or some old grandmother, that doesn't mean you're going to get anything that's going to settle your spirit. Your spirit is looking for truth, you know, and she's a reflection of truth. But if she has no truth in her existence, then she's only going to reflect lower level light. She's going to reflect fluorescent lighting. She's going to reflect GMO knowledge. You know, everything is modified because it's not coming from a direct original source. You know, just because we get old people all the time, like talking and running their mouths, but what is their structure? There's a certain high science dynamic and structure that brings forth wisdom, that brings forth peace, right? So if I wasn't a family man, you wouldn't be able to feel anything I say. You'd just be like, oh, that's a brother who knows a bunch of stuff. You know, stuff he's saying is on point. But you wouldn't feel any like stability and what I'm saying, because you need that pyramidal structure of man, woman, child in order to have the stability of what it is that you're saying, you know, in order for it to be felt, because that's what creates the laser, you know. So the man is the point of the laser. So what's poured into that point is the woman child, or sometimes woman. If you look at ancient, you know, Kemetic structure, and you have Nebuchadnezzar on one side and you have Auset on the other side, and you have Auser in the middle, they create a point. It's that pyramid. Two women on the side who are they're lower energy, high strength. The man is low energy, even lower energy than them, but he's more strength, more power. So they pour their higher energy into him, and he has the strength to take that higher energy from that wide base of women and whittle it down into a point. So now when he's speaking, it's razor sharp and it cuts through whatever it is that you're trying to understand. You see, but if he didn't have that base, you wouldn't really feel what you'd be like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but something about him, I don't know. You know, you be constantly waiting for that shoe to drop, like something ain't right. You know, so it's sometimes it happens on both sides, whether it's men speaking or whether it's women speaking. You know, everything has been flipped upside down. So instead of you having a point pointing at you, you're having a base of a pyramid in your face. Now, if you understand anything about thermodynamics and the flow of energy, that's how you make an atomic bomb. You know, when you're taking high multiple energy from very fine points and then spreading it out into larger channels, it creates an explosion. So that's why whenever you have a weak male or a weak, yeah, grandpa over there, but he's a weakling. And then you got all these strong aunts and strong female cousins and stuff in the family's constantly having all of these implosions. There's always all chaos because your family is an atomic bomb, because that's not the way a family is supposed to be shaped. You see, the sacred geometry is an important thing. There's a reason that pyramidal structures are so strong and they're standing today. A triangle is a very strong structure when it's placed right. But imagine if the pyramids were upside down and the base was out and the tiny point was on the ground. They would have collapsed by now.
Right.
Well, that's your modern family. The woman, the man is on the bottom and the women are on top, and it collapses on the weight of itself.
Women aren't structured. I guess that even combats that whole, like, this is saying about the black community is on the back of the black woman or something. It's like
black woman is the backbone of the black community.
And it's like, but your back, yeah, it's strong enough. It tips over. Like you can't carry it.
Right.
So.
But I thought about what you were sharing with me about your father and how when you heard like Chief's voice, it reminded you of like, that sounds like something that I can trust. Like it was like, because you like, that was when you shared that with me, I was like, see, it's something about that authority, that energy that you was able to recognize, like, no, I can listen to this. I should listen to this. Is the right way to go. I thought that was powerful. And yeah, just to kind of, when you were speaking about the power of, you said the man's voice, I just thought about, like, there's been times where you would say certain things, Chief, and I was just like, because it sounds so powerful, I would shake, like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, that was like, that was law. Like, you gotta, like, kind of like, ooh, okay. Whew.
Well, sometimes it's also, there's like a disruption to the atmosphere when testosterone comes around, So it's like, we're so used to, especially if a man has something to say to you, we're so used to him tiptoeing around your reaction, which is the exact opposite of how he's designed and built. So even now as I'm speaking, there'll be people listening who's saying, oh, he sounds domineering, he sounds arrogant, he sounds this. It's because they're not used to listening to testosterone. It just sounds too punchy. It's like, why don't you smooth that out a little bit? So sometimes there's certain things that we're in such an artificial environment that when something that's natural comes into the environment, that's the thing that feels like the intrusion. But it's just like, if you have a good piece of art, or if you're listening to a good piece of music, you forget about it. And that's the ultimate sign of a good work of art, that you forget that it's in front of you. You forget that you're listening to it, because it's so organic and it's so natural and it's so analog that it just blends into your natural environment. Like, you could have a song playing, you could have it on repeat and forget and just like zone out, and you keep rewinding, like, let me play it again, because I meant to really listen to that song, but every time I play it, I just go off and start doing something else, because it's so natural to your environment that it doesn't grab your attention and make you say, okay, sit and listen to me. Because the things that make you do that are the things that wear you out. They are the things that beat you down. So if you're primarily spending your time in a synthetic environment or an unnatural environment, and something natural comes into that environment, all eyes are going to turn. If you have a bowl of plastic fruit and you put a real papaya in the middle of that plastic fruit, every day you're going to look and see that one looks a little different. Something's changing. The color's changing, the size is changing. So you're going to either say, maybe I need to take it out of that environment, it's messing things up, or maybe I need to make the environment like that thing, because it's creating a new standard. Something that If you smell a papaya, or you smell a mango, you smell a lemon, you smell an orange, you don't feel offended by it. But you could be offended by lemon pledge. Somebody could spray some lemon pledge. Oh man, come on. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not natural. So that level of strength and masculinity or femininity is natural to the cosmic environment, because the cosmos is built upon that energy. You see, so if you hear it, or if you see a woman who is standing strong in her femininity, and you're like startled, it's a sign, and it's like a barometer for how fake your environment is. You see?
Yeah. A couple of things. I remember you saying to me one time, like, a certain person, you said like they wouldn't dare put themselves in close proximity with a real man.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about the difference in that person and myself, and just was like, well, I want to be in your presence. It was like, you know, like this does feel natural. This feels like what I should be listening to and where I should be. But when you said that, I was like, anything that's artificial, you're okay with, but anything that's real, like, and natural, you just...
Yeah, but that's okay, because it's like, what are you made of? That's perfectly all right. Like, you don't want water around your laptop.
True.
You know what I mean? So that's perfectly okay. You know, like, if you're made of a certain substance and of a certain reality, then you feed from that reality to maintain your existence. So me and that other person, we may not be cut of the same material. Somebody who's cut of my material, they're going to want to be around me. Somebody who's cut of something else, they're going to want to be around something else. And that's the thing, like, we have to kind of find our wavelength, and that comes to our authenticity. If we're authentic, then we can clearly see, like, okay, that's for me, that's not for me. Sometimes that even goes down to jobs. We work jobs a lot of times because people tell us it's a good job, but we're not really in tune with what's a good job for us. You know, you might be a woman, you got this much booty, and then you go work a job where you sitting down all day. Oh, I'm gonna be a bus driver. You ain't got enough booty to work that job. You see what I mean? You need to be walking, like, up hills. You know, you need to walk up hills to kind of, you know, work them glutes. You know, but that's the thing. It's like, sometimes we're not in tune on any level, whether it be employment, whether it be mating, the type of vehicles we drive, the places that we live, because we haven't tapped into our natural and authentic voicing yet. And until we tap into our real voicing, we don't really know what we want to be around from what we don't. We could be around something that's killing us. You know, how many of us drink water and we don't know if it's good or not, but we just know that it's bottled, and we like the taste. You know, we'll look at Dasani and be like, everybody knows Dasani's nasty. You know, like, I mean, come on. Dasani knows that water is nasty. By now, they should have sprinkled some sugar in it or something, change it up. But the thing about it is, like, so you buy the other water because of the way the bottle looks and because it's more expensive, but do you really know what's in that water? Do you really know if it's any good? And then you go home and you shower under a lead shower because what's coming out of your pipe is probably full of lead. Can you feel the difference between the spring water you drank and the lead shower that you took? You see what I'm saying?
And it's all body.
Well, because you're so out of tune. If you bathed in a waterfall every day, you wouldn't have that problem. You would know the difference. You know, so a lot of us are submerged inside of this synthetic web, or this artificial net. You know.
Man, I think about like that. Getting free, like getting free from all of it, all of these things that we think is normal, and it's just like, get free.
Well, you gotta make a fool out of yourself. Freedom comes with the humility of the fool, because it exists in the mind. That's why the fool is the first tarot card. When you're going through that's the first one, the fool. Because you can't become anything else. You can't become a knight, the king, the queen. whatever it is, you can't become that until you become the fool first, because the fool strips you of everything that you think is valuable. I mean, that's part of the science of, like, you talk about having a redeemer. Why would a redeemer want someone who has their own way and direction? You know, like when you meet a man and you're like, okay, well, this is what I've always wanted to do. Or sometimes I meet women and they find out I have certain gifts, and they'll say, wow, that's good. So you can do this for me. You can help me with this, right? So, I mean, that usually doesn't go further than that statement. After that, it's like, all right, sis, well, you know, I got your number. I'll be in touch. You know what I mean? So, but that's the thing. It's like, you have to think about, like, am I willing to be the fool? Because people will call you a fool.
They will definitely call you a fool.
Right.
They'll say something yesterday, like, oh, you can't think for yourself. It's like, okay, oh, she's, you know, anything he tell her to do, she jumped to do it. It's like,
give you that look like get out of here with that.
Well, you gotta look at their life. You always gotta look at a person's life. Like, consider the source. You know, sometimes people say so much of the same thing, they don't even realize that what they're saying is program statements. You pretty much already know what they're gonna say before they say it. Well, don't lose yourself. Don't give yourself over like that. You got to keep some for you. You got to maintain your identity. There's all of these sort of sick new age thoughts that are based around keeping us in a savage state. You know, another common one is like, we have this whole concept around self-care. And it's very, very foolish in a lot of senses, because self-care means that you should do things for yourself because you're doing too much. Now, if you think about how stupid that is, so you're going to give me another list of things that I need to go do because I'm working too hard, I'm taking care of other people, this, that, so forth, and I have all these million and one things that I need to do to survive, and you're going to give me an extra set of things to do, so that under the title of taking care of myself, when the reality is, self-care should really be, I'm taking away things out of my life. That would really bring peace to anyone. Whenever you're at the point where you feel like you need self-care, it's because you got too much stuff going on. So you should simplify. So sometimes, even in what we talk about, the simplification of thoughts, if you know you're the type of woman like, look, I just like serving men, or I just like a man telling me what to do. I watch this Shades of Grey, like all three parts. I'm with it. I liked it, right? Now you overcomplicate your life by like, what if so-and-so says this, and how do I tell this to these people? And these people are gonna think I'm crazy, so I gotta word it like this and word it like that. See, now you're adding on extra things that's gonna require self-care later. Instead of just stripping and saying, I'm submissive. I like being submissive. Not only do I like it, it turns me on, and I like men who are dominant, who are alphas, turns me on. That's that. It's not that complicated, right? Now you strip things, so that's actually self-care.
You care enough about yourself to.
Yeah, well, your truthfulness is self-care, because the truth, it burns and strips things away down to its original core and purpose and idea and concept as birthed by the cosmos, you know, when you're really walking in truth. So when you're stripping things away, you're stripping away all of the age, you know, all of the antiquity, because all of these thoughts and ideas you have about yourself are what make you old. So when you start stripping all of that and going into the truth, you become young and simple again.
Thanks so much.
That makes me think of like the chaotic nature of women, and then why, you know, it's important to have a man to bring that order sometimes, because our mind can get that way.
But it's also important to have a man who knows when to chill out, because if we didn't have chaos, we'd never have John Coltrane or Dizzy Gillespie or Miles Davis. Those people wouldn't even know their names. You know, chaos brings forth the most profound creation. You know, look at trees. There's an order to how trees grow, but there also is a chaotic nature to it, even to how they're planted. You got squirrels that run around crapping out, what they eat, and then oak trees grow. You know what I mean? So the squirrel's not like, one for you, go down 2 feet, one for you. It's not, the squirrel's not like Johnny Appleseed. They just crapping. Acorns. You know what I mean? Acorns everywhere. But now we get these beautiful lush forests. So there's a chaotic nature to it. But once the creation comes forth, that's the order. So as a man, you even have to know when to chill and let the squirrels crap all over the place. And then, then you come prune the trees. So the chaotic nature it has to be honored. Like, you have to honor her chaos just as she has to honor your order. Because if it's all about order all the time, then it becomes imperialistic. You become like many other regimes in the world that sought to put everyone into a certain kind of order and really kill the spiritual nature of people or the ethnic nature of people.
And you give us
I didn't want to say those words. I didn't want to say the words. Well, I could use a movie and I could say the empire, but I would say like the Nazi regime was one that was like, I could say with what we call pale-skinned Arabs have done in Darfur to the original Moorish Arabs, where they're trying to do these ethnic cleansing, where they want to wipe everybody out. What Leopold did in the Congo when he was killing, people, what so many of the European nations did when they came to the continent, when they was trying to establish a one sort of rule. Even ideas around relationships, ideas around monogamy, ideas around sexual practices are a way of disregarding and discounting people's cultural values, people's cultural sensibilities. Like, we don't do things the way y'all do. We have our own way. We have our own God. We have our own stories. We have our own way of wearing our clothes, and we have our own clothes. We have our own. So look to strip that and then impose it upon somebody else, then it's colonialism in its truest form. It's imperialistic, and it's very cruel, because that's one of the most cruel things you could ever do, is to strip someone of themselves. You strip me of myself, and I turn 50 and I start coughing. I don't even know what kind of medicine to take, because I don't know. Should I be coughing at 50? Is that normal for my people? Is it abnormal? What do my people usually do at this time? I don't know any of that. So I'm probably going to die sooner than I should, because I've been stripped of a knowledge of self.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm speechless. I'm speechless.
Oh man, we appreciate you adding onto the bill.
Yeah.
And have balance of the masculine energy.
Oh man. Well, that's an example of the savior coming in. They've coming in and saving the show. Man.
Yeah, I don't think that we got any responses for the question. So.
What was the question? The question that I answered?
Well, you answered. You answered.
You did get an answer. What you talking about?
Okay, that's an answer. We got a whole lesson. We went back to the left, to the right, and came back around the corner and everything. You gave us a buffet.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, so I'm out. I'm gonna let y'all keep going. Yo, how I get out this thing? Let me out.
You can't escape. Oh man, so grateful for Chief, and blessing us, and again dropping jewels and gems and rubies and diamonds and everything. Just I hope you all pick it up and I'm definitely gonna go back and rewatch this again and again. And man,
too. I appreciate that you joined, and I will that if you haven't listened to the Sabbath Insight, that you go back and listen to it. It's on the I New Life Global Ministries channel, so go and listen to it. We're speaking about the righteous family, the Redeemer and Savior. Man, if you're looking for a mate, looking for a wife, looking for a husband, like you got to watch it.
it. Yes.
Yeah, I would say it was just so much that was given. It was definitely a lot of information. I'm looking at my notes like, okay, what else?
Yeah,
And I share it, but
it's a lot. I thought about. We jumped.
Huh? What?
So we double dutching again.
Yeah. I was gonna mention the part. I don't know if we touched on it too much here, but when she spoke about like like for the women, like there needing to be like a tender touch and kind word every single day, but that it has to come from a woman that is confident. So I think it's important for us to like have those passions in life, like she mentioned, and not come as a damsel in distress with your hand sticking out like I need somebody to come and save me. It's like, okay, he's not gonna save just anyone. You have to come with those aspects, being confident, being yourself, being vulnerable, and accepting of that man.
I think about the Proverbs 31 woman, like in terms of just someone who was already like she was known, like she gave already to the needy, and I think she talked about that, like a woman who already just gives. She comes in the door serving the community, versus somebody who like, well, I see you doing it, so I guess I better do it too. It's like it's already in her to do certain things. And I think about that in terms of Savior, like what aspects, as we're developing in the house ourselves, developing into that Proverbs 31, but having those checkpoints where you're like, okay, do I have that in me, that delight to actually give? Do I have the delight to actually, when I wake up in the mornings or the dawnings, I'm thinking about making sure my house is good, as the Proverbs 31 wife and mother, not woman, but wife and mother to be specific. Am I able to go out and handle business, do business? You know what I mean? Like, do I have that sort of mindset where I'm not just wasting and squandering money? It's like all of those things I think about in terms of when you have a Savior. Like, I don't think a Savior will want someone who just, whatever you say, whatever you do, okay, I'm just here to go along with it. But they have something that they're doing. They're actually actively moving and doing things, So that's what I think about in terms of Savior and not being that damsel in distress.
I just think that everything that has been shared so far in the series, because I know the series started with speaking about polygyny, and it kind of started off with talking about the secure attachment, and it kind of like, it's a series, so it's like, it's just, I don't know what other points to make, but yeah, that Proverbs 31 piece is definitely important, because everything that she was doing was for the purpose of her family. So right. I think having that mindset, I'm coming to like give to a family and I'm coming to serve in that way, as opposed to being selfish. It's like, it starts with the relationship. It starts with how you come into a relationship. If you already like looking with your hands sticking out, and it's like, what are you coming to give? Like, how are you coming to support that man and then his children? So I think that everything we shared is very, very important in terms of like how women needs to show up and come if she wants a mate. She wants to be covered. And,
you want to. I think about also when he said something like, I want to paraphrase, but I remember him sharing, like, you know, when he wakes up in the morning, before his feet actually hit the floor, he may say his affirm with the Most High, but by the time his feet hit the floor, he's on it. Like, he's doing what needs to be done for the community, what needs to be done for his family, what needs to be done. You know, it's not, I get up in the morning and, you know, I'm thinking about myself per se. You know, I'm gonna go and take a long shower, and I'm gonna go and, you know, just lollygag, and, you know, I'll get to it when I get to it. But it's like you waking up with a purpose, you know. And I think about that in terms of when we talk about giving ourselves completely over. And in this house, you're definitely giving yourself completely over to this mission, you know, what it is that Chief has a vision for. And every day we're constantly having to work towards building this community and pushing it forward. And that does require a level of, you know, selflessness. So I think about that in terms of a savior. What would a savior want? Would a savior want someone who's selfish and only think about themselves? And, you know, so that was a beautiful point.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, he did speak of the aspect of women being self-absorbed versus being self-aware. You know, so that was important to pay attention to, or to watch out for, like, okay, the difference between the two.
Someone who makes a big deal out of something is a person that's self-absorbed. So when somebody's telling you something, it's like, you know, you don't have to make a big deal. Just accept what they're saying and keep it moving. Keep it moving. That recently happened. I won't say too much details, but that recently happened in a conversation where we were making plans, and somebody's laughing. We were making plans for something, and the original plan ended up changing. We had to change it, and in that moment, I was like, "Oh man," you know. I was like, "Oh man," and he was like, "Well, what's wrong? You know, express, like, use your words." Not usually. I'm joking because he said that in the series, but he told me to, like, you know, express, like, what's going on, what happened, and I had to say, well, you know, I was a little disappointed because I was hoping it would have been this, you know, but I understand why it has to be this.
Yeah,
it's okay. And we kept it moving, we kept it pushing. So I think that, and I'm saying that in a way where I'm not going into details, but I'm just saying, like, that's an example of growth for me, you know, because I probably in the past probably would have been like, it just had a whole theatric stage play or something, like, oh my god, it's just, you know. But to get to that point where it's just like, okay, well, it's whatever is gonna happen is gonna happen. We just have to rearrange certain things, and that's okay, you know. Just keep it pushing, you know. So
yeah, that's something I'm learning to, not to make a big deal out of, like, certain things. Like, yeah, I'm good at, but other things is kind of like, oh no, I'm going crazy on the side, like the anxiety. But going back to the secure attachments that she spoke about, like, mine was fear, like high avoidance, high anxiety. So, like, that sitting duck where it's like a lot going on inside. It's like it's not coming out. So it's like learning how to, like, you know, yeah, everything is not a big deal, you know. Mm-hmm. Like when she spoke about, like, women, like, or you both were kind of sharing, like, how some women are not able to, like, stand in the presence of that truth, that direct truth. But I do think that's a part of, like, cultivating your relationship with the Most High Yah too, because it's that truth aspect and being able to, like, accept the truth, what the truth is, you know, and not live in delusion. That was one of the biggest things that I've learned. Like, you have to get out of fantasy and live in reality, what is real, you know. And I have to say, like, I just remember, like living in fantasy from a very young age to kind of, like, get out of, like, what the reality of what was happening growing up. So that's something that I held on into adulthood, like, oh, and she made me aware, like, hey, you've been holding on to that for a really long time. So it's like, you know, like, that's something that's like, okay, yeah, that cannot stand. So, like, being able to, like, I'm still, like, learning how to accept the reality of what is, and it's it's difficult, but I think it's something I have to continue on with.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's at their levels and their different stages. When you said like being able to say the truth or see that, I thought of the truth way of life, and it's like when you think of I mean, I would say the whole concept, the Christ concept of the Savior. So we're looking at Chief in that way. So when he is sharing and giving us that truth, it's like, yeah, the truth, the way, and the light. He's really giving us that. So that's powerful. That's powerful to say that I've been holding on to something for years, and here it is. When it comes along, and he's able to chop.
And she did speak about, I forget which Sabbath insight it was, but he spoke about like how like some of us we don't like. He was like, remember you were a child when you did the right thing and you were happy. Like some of us like we kind of like, I don't want to do the right thing, but it's like that's the path to like you want to be happy and all of this, but that's actually the path, like right thing, and you'll see like how your life turned out. So yeah,
it's a lot for it.
A lot of taking away, and she spoke about a lot of doing away with.
Doing away, you yearn for it. I think I know for me, I had gotten to a space where I was just yearning for that truth. You know, I was just I remember being angry because it was like, man, everybody keeps lying or nobody's who they say they are. But then you realize like, well, you ain't who you say you are. So you keep attracting, people in your life who aren't living that truth either. So I think what she, like, for some people, it's hard for them to even, they can't accept a man that is polygynous. Like they can't accept that. Or they can't accept that a woman will look at a man and really serve him and really honor him and respect him, and his word is the authority. A lot of people cannot accept that, but I think for some of us, like, we really yearn for that. Like that is the truth of who we are and how we really want to function, and anything outside of that, we just he said it far more eloquent than I could, but it's the truth. It's the truth. So
it that goes back to the self-absorbed. Like, okay, I'm not for, like, just not even being like open to the idea. Not that it needs to be forced on anybody, but it's like there's different types of relationships. So,
and we talked about that, like having that shifting that mindset. Like it's not I'm jealous of the next woman. We understand the situation of what it is, but it's like, yeah, I'm not jealous of the next person, because if I can put my mind in the space to see like, okay, we all have been suffering as a result of like what Chief just said. Like we're here on this in this artificial world, and it's like, okay, he's redeeming a lot of us. So if I see another sister and we're like, come into the house, come in here and be our sister wives, like be a part of this experience. It's like, yeah, you have to put yourself in that frame of mind. This is my life. I want what I want for myself, I want for them as well. And I think that's a powerful thing, because especially combating what we've been programmed to think and how we've been programmed to operate, and you take a stand and say, no, it's not real, that's not right, that ain't it.
Yeah, I remember on one bit, I think it was inside of Anu, where she mentioned like living like a plurality, like living a polygynous lifestyle, like that requires like a higher form of love. And I thought about that when you said it. I was like, well, I can imagine, because like you would have to have like mature individuals. You would have to have people who are secure, who love themselves and who loves others, to be able to function in that dynamic and it be healthy. But the very foundation that we're learning is that you have to have like two whole people and healthy people that can communicate, and you don't have the high anxiety, high avoidance, and have all of these different, but it's healthy. Low avoidance, low anxiety. So, but yeah, it's like that's the foundation. If that's the foundation, and then you have multiple people who are at that stage, and it's like there won't be any issues because you have people who are secure. So I can see like why it's like, okay, this the foundation, but it starts all the way in childhood, and that's the thing. Like, imagine like if this was like you started with a child and like they're developing their secure attachment where they're going to be in their adult life. It's like it's not going to even be like a relationships ain't going to even be an issue. It's going to be something that's just like I naturally just I don't have those charges, but you know.
And that's what we're doing in Anu. I feel like that's the beauty of Anu. And that's the part that I'm like, if you can't hear this, like if you can't hear it, you ain't ready for it. But this is really like, this is it. Like, this is it. I just look at Anu as the solution, you know,
Right.
hence the title of the book. But I look at Anu as a solution because, like I said, Chief he gives us so many tools, so many solutions, so many resources. There's no excuse. Like, it's time. 2024 is the year of family. I'm gonna say that on every segment, but 2024 is the year of family, and it's time to definitely take back what's been taken from us, take back our minds and the way that the Creator originally intended for us to be. So, yeah.
I look forward to hearing some of the brothers and other sisters in Anu like the journey towards moving towards family as well. You know, and sharing more of that.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
I just,
we had so many join, so I just what'd you say?
I said Uncle Chief said he wants to be throwing some children in the lake. Remember he said? I just want, so we got to make that happen.
Beautiful. That's part of the vision. If you go to the On Your Way, read the vision section, and it's there. So we appreciate everyone joining us this evening. For those who did add, Chief Yuya, and I think there was some who added early on. So we appreciate all the shares. Was there anything else that you wanted to share before we close on out?
Nothing that I wanted to share. I'm still looking for those answers from the brothers.
Yeah.
All right. No, but outside of that, like, I look forward to these series that are coming, and we're continuing to build on the idea and the concept of mating and preparing for motherhood and being a part of a righteous household that is Chief Yuya. And so, with that being said, peace.
Everyone, peace.
You still rocking out with us? That's right. Check out some of our previous episodes to learn more about what the sisters in the house are doing. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and catch Chief Yuya live every Sabbath. Only on House of Yuya.